As a society, we tend to view juvenile delinquency as a product of bad choices, poor decision-making, and a lack of morals. But what if I told you that it's not that simple? What if I told you that juvenile delinquency is often a symptom of something deeper and more complex? Something like trauma. Juvenile delinquency refers to the involvement of minors in criminal activity or antisocial behavior. It is often seen as a product of poor choices and a lack of morals, but this viewpoint overlooks the underlying causes of delinquent behavior. In many cases, juvenile delinquency can be traced back to experiences of trauma, which can have a profound impact on a young person's development and behavior. Trauma can take many forms, from physical or emotional abuse to neglect or exposure to violence. When children experience trauma, it can affect their emotional and psychological well-being in significant ways, leading to behavioral problems, mental health issues, and even physical health problems. These effects can be particularly pronounced in children who lack strong support systems or who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. For many young people, delinquent behavior is a coping mechanism for dealing with the trauma they have experienced. They may turn to drugs or alcohol, engage in risky behavior, or become involved in criminal activity as a way to numb their pain or gain a sense of control in their lives. Without appropriate intervention and support, these patterns of behavior can become entrenched and lead to a cycle of further trauma and delinquency. To address the issue of juvenile delinquency, it is important to recognize the complex underlying factors that can contribute to this behavior. This means looking beyond simple moral judgments and recognizing the impact of trauma on young people's lives. By providing early intervention and support for children who have experienced trauma, we can help prevent delinquent behavior and promote healthy development. This may involve providing counseling and therapy, creating safe and supportive environments, and addressing the root causes of trauma through targeted interventions. Ultimately, by addressing the underlying causes of juvenile delinquency, we can create a more just and compassionate society for all. Imagine a child growing up in an environment like this. Gunshots ringing out at all hours of the night, parents struggling to make ends meet, and no one around to guide them. It's not hard to see how this kind of environment could lead to trauma, and ultimately, juvenile delinquency. Today, we're going to talk about the impact of trauma on juvenile delinquency, and how we can work to break the cycle. We'll explore the research on this topic and look at some inspiring examples of people who are making a difference in the lives of these vulnerable children. Let's start by looking at the research. According to a study by the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, between 60 and 80% of juvenile justice-involved youth have experienced some form of trauma. This is a staggering number that highlights the importance of addressing trauma when working with youth who are involved in the justice system. Trauma could be anything from physical abuse to neglect, sexual abuse, or exposure to violence in their communities. These traumatic experiences can have long-lasting effects on a child's mental health, leading to depression, anxiety, and even post-traumatic stress disorder. Trauma can take many forms, and the study identifies some of the most common types of trauma experienced by justice-involved youth. These include physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, and exposure to violence in their communities. The effects of trauma can be long-lasting and can lead to mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. These mental health issues can manifest in a range of behaviors, including substance abuse, aggression, and criminal behavior. It is important to note that trauma can affect children differently depending on their individual circumstances. For example, trauma experienced in early childhood can have a particularly profound impact on a child's development, as it can interfere with their ability to form healthy attachments and regulate their emotions. Children who lack stable and supportive home environments may also be more vulnerable to the negative effects of trauma. Recognizing the prevalence and impact of trauma among justice-involved youth is an important step in addressing the issue of juvenile delinquency. By providing trauma-informed care and support, we can help young people heal from their traumatic experiences and reduce their risk of engaging in delinquent behavior. This may involve providing mental health services, offering safe and supportive environments, and addressing the underlying causes of trauma through targeted interventions. By taking a comprehensive and trauma-informed approach, we can create a more just and compassionate system for youth involved in the justice system. It's not hard to see how trauma could lead to delinquent behavior. For many of these kids, acting out is a way to cope with the pain and confusion they're feeling. But there is hope. By understanding the impact of trauma, we can work to create interventions that will help these young people heal and break the cycle of delinquency. The relationship between trauma and delinquent behavior is complex and multifaceted. Trauma can affect the way a young person sees the world and interacts with others. It can create feelings of isolation, shame, and worthlessness, leading to a sense of hopelessness and a lack of purpose in life. For many of these kids, acting out is a way to cope with these overwhelming emotions and find a sense of control in their lives. This can include engaging in risky behaviors, substance abuse, or involvement in criminal activity. However, it is important to note that delinquent behavior is not the fault of the young person. Rather, it is a symptom of the trauma they have experienced. By addressing the underlying causes of the trauma, we can help these young people heal and break the cycle of delinquency. One important aspect of this is providing trauma-informed care. This means recognizing that the youth in question have experienced trauma and providing support that is sensitive to their needs. This may involve providing access to mental health services, creating safe and supportive environments, and offering opportunities for positive reinforcement and skill building. By addressing the trauma and providing support that meets the needs of the individual, we can help these young people develop healthy coping mechanisms and reduce their risk of engaging in delinquent behavior. It is also important to note that early intervention is key. By identifying trauma early and providing appropriate support, we can prevent delinquent behavior from becoming entrenched and create a positive trajectory for the young person's future. This may involve working with families and communities to create supportive environments and address the underlying causes of trauma. Overall, by understanding the impact of trauma on delinquent behavior and providing trauma-informed care, we can help these young people heal and break the cycle of delinquency. With the right interventions and support, we can create a brighter future for justice-involved youth and promote a more just and compassionate society for all. One of the most effective interventions is trauma-focused therapy. This type of therapy is designed specifically for children who have experienced trauma and helps them work through their feelings and emotions in a safe and supportive environment. Studies have shown that trauma-focused therapy can be incredibly effective in reducing delinquent behavior and helping kids get back on track. Another intervention that can make a huge difference is mentoring. Having a positive role model in their lives can be incredibly powerful for young people who have experienced trauma. A mentor can provide a stable and supportive relationship, helping the child build resilience and learn positive coping strategies. Ultimately, it's up to all of us to create a world where children don't have to experience trauma in the first place. We can work to create safer and more supportive communities, provide resources for families who are struggling, and invest in programs that help young people thrive. Preventing trauma from happening in the first place is an important part of addressing the issue of juvenile delinquency. We all have a role to play in creating a world where children are protected from trauma and have the support they need to thrive. One way to prevent trauma is by creating safer and more supportive communities. This can involve addressing issues like poverty, inequality, and violence, which can contribute to traumatic experiences. By investing in programs that promote community safety and well-being, we can create environments that are more supportive and less prone to trauma. Another important way to prevent trauma is by providing resources for families who are struggling. This can include access to mental health services, affordable housing, and support for parents and caregivers. By providing these resources, we can help families create stable and supportive environments that promote healthy development and reduce the risk of trauma. Investing in programs that help young people thrive is also crucial. This can involve providing access to education and job training, as well as programs that promote positive youth development and help young people build skills and self-esteem. By providing these opportunities, we can help young people build a sense of purpose and direction in life, reducing the risk of engaging in delinquent behavior. Ultimately, preventing trauma is a collective responsibility that requires a comprehensive and collaborative approach. By working together to create safer and more supportive communities, provide resources for families, and invest in programs that help young people thrive, we can create a world where children are protected from trauma and have the support they need to reach their full potential. This not only benefits individual young people but also helps to create a more just and compassionate society for all. There are so many inspiring examples of people who are making a difference in the lives of these vulnerable children. From social workers to therapists to mentors, there are people out there who are dedicating their lives to helping young people heal from trauma and overcome the challenges they face. One such person is Sarah, who runs a program for at-risk youth in her community. Sarah has seen firsthand the impact that trauma can have on young people, and she's passionate about helping them break the cycle of delinquency. Through her program, she provides mentorship, counseling, and other support to help these kids build a better future for themselves. Of course, the most inspiring stories are those of the young people themselves. Kids who have experienced trauma and overcome incredible odds to achieve their goals. These kids are proof that with the right support, anyone can heal from trauma and move forward in a positive direction. In the end, the impact of trauma on juvenile delinquency is a complex issue that requires a multifaceted solution. But by working together, we can create a world where all children have the opportunity to heal, thrive, and reach their full potential. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, a mentor, or simply someone who cares, there's something you can do to make a difference. So let's get to work. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, no matter how dark the road may seem, there is always hope.